I think a lot of people within Islam, they don't take the New Testament, but they maybe are more open to the Old Testament verses that prove that Jesus is Christ, he was there. So do you have any verses from the Old Testament to back up? Yeah.
I'm not sure where you're getting this. I'm not sure where you're getting this opinion from, that they're more open to the Old Testament rather than the New Testament. In my experience, most Muslims just assume that the whole Bible is untrustworthy. You know, and that they often, in my experience, will attempt to use the New Testament to try to show that Jesus was just a man and that he wasn't divine. And that's one of the big sticking point conversations. There's three big sticking point conversations that always come up. And that is, you know, is Jesus Christ God? The incarnation, the Trinity, and is the Bible reliable and trustworthy? And those are the three topics of conversation that repeat in ad nauseum. And obviously there are certain passages that are particularly relevant to these topics, you know, like the common Christian, Philippians chapter 2, John 17:3, which is the Muslims' favorite verse. They like to quote 5 words at that verse and ignore everything else, as if those 5 words are reliable, but the rest of the New Testament is unreliable. You know, Isaiah 42, John chapter 1, the stories in the Synoptic Gospels about Jesus being the Lord of the Sabbath. A number of these passages will come up in these kinds of conversations because you use them to elucidate the incarnation, you use them to elucidate that Christ is indeed God. And so, yeah, these passages will come up, but there's none specifically from the Old Testament. There's one, I think it's, has someone got their Bible on them? I think it's in Malachi 3:1. That's a really crucial passage. The reason why Malachi 3:1 is a really crucial passage is because Jesus himself gives an interpretation of that text, and he identifies John the Baptist as the messenger. But if John the Baptist is the messenger of Malachi 3:1, then that means Jesus is Yahweh of Malachi 3:1. So that's a really crucial one, because the way that Jesus interprets Malachi 3:1 means that you've then got a key in to understanding that Jesus is the angel of the Lord, because Malachi 3:1 references the angel of the Lord, which is in Exodus, the angel of the Lord that brings the covenant to Moses. And so it's Jesus' own interpretation of Malachi 3:1, which is given in Matthew 11:10 and Mark 1:2 and Luke 7:27, that identifies where Jesus is given that interpretation. And given Jesus' interpretation, that would mean that Jesus is the messenger, the angel of the Lord, which means that he is God from the Old Testament. But I don't think Muslims are particularly more open to the Old Testament than the New, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.